mobile phone. Why should he?
All right, Nathan, with you on the football show tonight. Dan McDonnell in studio. Happy New Year, Dan.
Is that whole thing, what day is it today?
We're
The
done,
12th, 13th. Happy enough New Year, yeah. Happy enough. Yeah, we were both out of action, I think, at various times in the last month, weren't we? So it's just good to be out and about. And
No, I wasn't out of action.
you weren't out of action, no?
I'm still...
Oh, you maybe had a bit of a scare or
The
something.
only reason
did you?
I've had a couple of scares, yes.
Yeah,
But
okay.
somehow, yeah. That's the only reason you're allowed in here, is that you've had it.
Yeah, that's pretty much
So-
it. Although, I mean, Johnny Ward's record is unbelievable, like, you know.
Has he
I mean-
avoided it still?
Well, allegedly.
Well, this
But
is
mean,
what let's be honest, there were, a couple of weeks into the first wave. If there was a man who was prime candidate number one.
He's like, I mean, as I said, yeah, he's probably, it would be amazing if there was one virus he managed to avoid, but like it is like he wasn't here a lot over the sort of Christmas period.
Kept the show on the road, fair play.
He did, yeah, he hobbled in.
And thanks to the taxi drivers of Dublin as well, who gave him stories for every day show.
Yeah, he was in a taxi earlier, he told me. Yeah, I'll get that anecdote at a later date for more detail. But no, it is good to be in and around, and it's still a different January feel to last January, definitely.
So Dan's going to be with us until 10 o'clock. John Giles is going to be with us as well. As I said, we've had a slightly different show this evening, which started with Kevin Kilbane.
What the hell was that, really?
I'm not quite sure. Listen, you ask Kilbane to pay tribute to someone, he pays tribute to them.
I mean, it's all about JP.
Do we have the song? We want to go out with the song. We definitely want to go out with the song.
I mean, Kev looks like a man who wants to go out, in the basis of that song. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it's all about JP. And it's sort of typical Kilbane, really. I mean, this is JP's moment. This is JP's last show. It's for him. And who are we talking about? Kev.
It is. It's typical Kilbane. Is it there?
Usually on a night out, I would usually sing a song anyway at the end of a night. And I just
to let you know, Kevin Kilbane is sitting, as I said, he's like he's in the Playboy Mansion with the seat behind him.
So
Carlsberg sign directly behind. Got a bottle of Jameson.
Good luck.
The Playboy Mansion in association with the royal family, to be fair.
Exactly, yeah. Here we go.
Dear Ger, I write this note to you to tell you of me plight. I am just sick of working with this shower of shite. My body is all black and blue, my face a deathly grey. And I write this note to say why JP's not at work today. While working on the second floor, some shite I had to clear.
Surprised me. I assumed that might be it.
From such a
yeah, it sort of surprised me as well, because I said I listened to it at 6:30. I thought only one verse. Yeah, take it down, Paul. I think. Listen,
I assumed he'd be on brand. It would have been like TikTok length or something. Like
that's what I thought. Like
10, 15
it's hard
seconds.
to be that viral sensation when there's a fourth verse.
Yeah, it's just sort of like it was the jump the shark verse as it was later on. But
Kilbane does love the sick note, but like he added his own twist to it.
I mean,
it takes a lot of effort.
It does. I mean, actually, like he put a lot of thought into that. It shows he's embraced a more creative side to himself. Now he's in Canada in a different time zone.
That's it. They're in total lockdown in Canada at the moment. Schools
Are they really?
Shut, everything. It's minus 25.
Wow.
So
I thought you were joking about that earlier. I mean, I know it can. I have friends living that neck of the woods who do say this is common. So
yeah, apparently life goes on even at minus 25. It's the COVID that shut them down. So yeah, that's why he's sitting in bottle of Jemmy,
singing songs
and sending them home.
Yeah, well, I mean, what would he ever do if you left? Well,
this is, and I'm wondering. I'm thinking maybe I should.
Yeah, it's like
I
the
definitely
old,
want.
it's like the old you want to see your own funeral type thing.
That's it.
What would be said?
I thought JP might get emotional, but no.
He was actually quite cold, detached. All the things you want from a producer, really.
Exactly. Yeah. No emotion at all. So Liverpool 0, Arsenal 0. By the way, on to the matters at hand. Carabao Cup semi-final, first leg. Arsenal down to 10 men since midway through the first half. We have been in the midst of a panel, so I haven't really been watching it. Shock horror, Granit Xhaka sent off. You did see this, Dan?
Yeah, no, I was watching Roberto Lopez in Cape Verde, Burkina Faso. I have to say it's sort of a niche AFCON related comment to throw into the mix, but yeah, I did see the Granit Xhaka sending off, which he was sort of the last man back, taking a long ball sort of floated over the top of sort of a 30-40 yard pass. And it's one of those where he puts his foot up to take the ball, not realising that there's a man, or realising or not that there's a man over his shoulder that he sort of takes out at chest height. You could say, well, he has sort of adapted to that position, Xhaka, hasn't he? And he's sort of like he's you could say maybe as a midfielder he wouldn't be necessarily used to facing these situations all the time. When you are the last man and there's a ball being clipped over the top, and maybe different players would handle it in a different way. But it was somewhat clumsy. I mean, I felt for him a small bit. I mean,
was there any element of the fact it was Granit Xhaka is why he was sent off, or was it a definite red?
Well, I think it's one of those that when you have, like, when you slow it right down and you look at the circumstances of it, I think it's hard not to give the red card. I think, you know, you can't really debate. You can debate sort of intent with these things and whatever, but I think when you're the last man and it's high as well, I think you're in a difficult position. It's one of those where I've just seen the clip and I haven't seen any of the subsequent debate, any of the pundits, all of the things that can sort of shape your opinion with these things and pull you in a particular direction. But you do look at it instantly and go, yeah, I think this is going to be a red, you know. And the decision, it didn't take a huge amount of time to make the decision.
So that was after only 24 minutes, but it is still scoreless midway through the second half, though Liverpool have a big chance, and it was Minamino on the left-hand angle of the 6-yard box, and he flashes a shot across goal. And Liverpool have had over 80% possession, so clearly dominating the game, but it seems haven't actually tested Aaron Ramsdale on too many occasions. At both sides, well, at as full a strength as they can be, really, with Mo Salah away for Liverpool and Arsenal also missing a couple of players, and obviously COVID issues as well. Alisson, by the way, did get that returning goal in place of Queevy and Kelleher, because we are at a sort of strange stage of the season where there's been all these complaints about fixture congestion and how many matches teams have to play, where actually for the next few weeks there's not going to be much football at all for some of these teams, because there is a winter break in the Premier League. There is an international break coming up where there's qualifiers in South America, and obviously the African Cup of Nations continues. So Liverpool and Arsenal can afford to go into both these semi-finals and give it a real go.
Give it a proper go, yeah. No, that was the thing. I suppose you sometimes can look at things through the Irish eyes and you're wondering, you know, will Kelleher play, you know, earlier this week? Just, you know, it's a cup game and you might have it in your head, but unfortunately, as you've mentioned, as you've laid out there, there's no reason to really rest Alisson at the moment. He's had a little rest, you know, in the last sort of week or two. So slightly disappointing, even, you know, having watched Kelleher play against Chelsea, that if the game had gone ahead last week, you know, when Liverpool were quite stretched, it would have been a pretty good test for him. But yeah, I mean,
where do you stand on the Kelleher Bazunu? It's not even a debate, I guess, but issue, because I do think we're writing Queevy Kelleher off a little bit too soon, in that this could flip very quickly. There is a possibility, not beyond the realms of possibility in any way, that Liverpool decide next season, you know what, the best option is Queevy Kelleher. He'll be going on 24 at that stage. Let's let him go out on loan. Let's get a full season in the Championship or in the Premier League. Let's get first team football. And that Manchester City say, all right, Gavin Bazunu may not be ready to be our backup keeper at 19, but let's bring him in and have him around the place and have him around Ederson. Let's have him a year learning, and we go into qualifiers and actually Kelleher's the one playing week in, week out, and Bazunu's the one not involved. And that is maybe a difficult situation for Stephen Kenny, a different situation than the outfield players, where you kind of need to go with the goalie who's playing every week.
Yeah, I see your point now. I think it would take something remarkable for Kenny to drop Bazunu, I have to say. And I think Kelleher is excellent. Like, you know, I think Kelleher is excellent. But Kenny is very loyal to his goalkeepers. I saw Neil O'Riordan went through all the stats recently. Painstaking, some would say boring work, but I mean, he likes it. He's known as Stato.
Tell everyone exactly what he did.
He went through every game of Stephen Kenny's managerial career, right back to like the start. You know, I think it was sort of, I think he was going off some pate newsreels in the early stages, and some old sort of carved tablet stuff from his Longford days, and basically went through in a given season. I know the rhythm of the club game is obviously different, but in a given season, how often did Stephen Kenny rotate his goalkeepers, or how often did he stick with his number one? And I think it was something remarkably high, like sort of 93% of games, 94% he picks his number one. He doesn't really flip and rotate. He did it a bit in his year at Shamrock Rovers where things went badly wrong, and I think he had sort of one or two options that he'd change, but pretty much when he picks a number one, he tends to stick with a number one. So I think
I would point out on Neil's statting that, as a man who loves to stat himself, there's, you know, two sort of golden rules. One is be correct. But if you can't be correct, make it impossible for anybody to prove you're wrong.
Yeah, this is it. Like, I mean, who is going to... Like, there's always someone out there, I presume, if you make an error in commentary, will like point it out, you know, or maybe some stat even. But no one's going to go and say it's actually 92.6% or something. But listen, I see what you're saying. I just feel with Kelleher, though, I feel he's actually got too good. Maybe to get to a position where, like, I think people send out a number 2 because that number 2 demands it. You know, as opposed to, like, you see there's a Dean Henderson situation at the moment in Manchester United where he's a bit miffed.
He wants to go.
I don't know. Like, is Kelleher signed a 5-year deal? Yeah, maybe that scenario you talk about unfolds for the sake of his development. Like, okay, maybe you're right, but then they probably have to go that, you know, Adriana's a number 2, or do they bring in someone else? That's not in Kelleher's interest if they sign some other young goalkeeper, you know. And I think Bazzuno's pretty determined to play. And I think the interesting one would be, what happens if someone comes to Man City and tries to test them on Bazzuno? Like, you know, I think, like, there's no doubt, I'd be fairly sure, without having, say, written about this or can put names to it, but you hear chat, I've no doubt that these are both being watched by, you know, any Premier League club is looking for a number 1. You know, there's absolutely no doubt that these players...
I saw Phil Egan make a good point yesterday. Like, Southampton are crying out for a goalkeeper at the moment.
Yeah, I can, and you can even see teams with a few quid, like I know Newcastle have, like, Dubravka, but teams with money, you know, Everton have Pickford, teams that are looking in a couple of years' time, you know, and I think there's no doubt they're going to be attractive options. Like, I think there's 1 or 2 other good young goalkeepers in England that are English that are being talked about in the same breath, and I think these are the ones that are top of everyone's list. So I think
they have the talent, but also there is a major gravitas that comes with playing for Liverpool and Manchester City, that clubs want to be seen to be signing from those teams. It brings a confidence.
Yeah, and there's a fee that comes with it as well, though. That's the other thing. Like, you know, there's a premium that comes with it. But I just think with Bazzuno's mentality and the people around him, I'm not sure. I think it would need to be something really good. It would have to be you are number 2, I think, for him to stay, as much as at Man City, as much as the club that pays you will call the shots, of course.
Liverpool 0, Arsenal 0, 73 minutes gone. Arsenal, as we said, down to 10 men for a long period of that game. Whatever about rules around statting, the golden rule of off the ball has been broken. You do not keep John Giles waiting, and we have kept John Giles waiting. Evening, John. I blame you for this, Dan.
I think you
kept John Giles waiting. You broke the golden rule, and
that's it.
It's a one-off. This is what happens. JP isn't around anymore.
JP's gone, is he? Well, this is what happens.
Doesn't get the nice call with JP beforehand, so he's just decided, screw it. I wouldn't blame him. Well, I mean, we could have asked John Giles for his opinion on Caoimhín Kelleher or Gavin Bazzuno, and he thought,
well, I mean, you're the presenter, you're actually in charge here.
Well, listen,
do you not keep an eye? Does JP normally...
That's exactly it.
This is what happens. He talks you through the show and tells you everything that's about to happen.
Yeah.
And he's gone now.
Ron Burgundy here. You know how that works.
Well, I mean, I don't know. This is eliminated.
Very quickly, Dan, and the length of your answer here is dependent on how long it takes to get John Giles back on air, but you're going full hipster mode and not watching Liverpool Arsenal, you're watching African Cup of Nations. Pico Lopez.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's doing a diary with the Independent, and I've been working with him on it. He was excellent tonight, but they've lost, unfortunately. He played really well, and it's not even like a sort of a biased thing. He defended really well under pressure, but they lost to Burkina Faso now. So they play Cameroon on Monday, which is going to be tough. All
right, there's your African Cup of Nations update. John Giles is with us. Good evening, John.
Evening, Nathan.
Apologies for that. We were talking Gavin Bazzuno and Caoimhín Kelleher and what Stephen Kenny might do, and it's a nice position for Stephen Kenny to be in. When you were in management and when you were playing, did you just want your number 1 to always be your number 1 and stick with them regardless of form, of club, of whatever? Does he just need to make a decision on Bazzuno and stick with him?
I think so. Well, if he's the best goalkeeper, Nathan, then you stick with the best goalkeeper. I mean, if somebody else comes along in the meantime, in a year or two, or whatever it might be, you just pick the best that's available at that particular time. But I mean, he's lucky. Stephen's lucky, as we know, to have the calibre of goalkeepers that he has at the moment. It's very, very good.
Yeah, certainly is. No start for Caoimhín Kelleher tonight then, because Liverpool, I guess, wanting to give game time and some reps to Alisson. So still scoreless. You've been watching this game, 75 minutes gone. The Granit Xhaka sending off, was this a typical moment of Granit Xhaka stupidity?
Yeah, just another one, Nathan. He just went high for the ball. to one of the Liverpool defenders. He couldn't. He knew the defender was behind him. I mean, he could have let it go and turned around, and he might have got back quicker. But he put his foot up straight into the Liverpool lad's chest. Typical Xhaka, of course, appealing to the referee as if he didn't mean it or whatever it might be. But no, it's just another Xhaka performance.
In terms of the flow of the game, like the stats show, Liverpool have dominated possession but haven't created a whole lot of opportunities. What sort of game has it been? It's
been like that, Nathan. Defending most of the time, Arsenal, especially when they went down to 10 men, defended pretty well as well. Liverpool didn't make any great chances. I haven't seen much of the second half, very little of the second half. But the first half was, wasn't much for Liverpool's point of view. You can tell that they're missing their big strikers, Salah and Mane, to open them up, Nathan, to open Arsenal up.
We've got a big game live on Sunday on Off the Ball, the North London derby, Spurs against Arsenal. Arsenal dumped out of the FA Cup, the big shock, beaten by Nottingham Forest at the weekend. After a time where it felt like everyone was sort of coming around to Arsenal, it looked as though they were making proper progress. There was a bit of a backbone. There was some really exciting young players coming through that they'd gotten a run of strong performances against Leeds and West Ham and Norwich, and even against Manchester City, where they were very unlucky to lose that game. Is there still a little bit missing, or are we reading too much into that defeat against Nottingham Forest?
Well, it was a bad defeat. They didn't play well, Nathan, at all. But, I mean, if you go back to the Manchester City match, again, Xhaka was at fault there, pulling the fella's jersey to give a penalty kick away, and Gabriel in the middle of the field lost his head and got sent off. So, Arteta's got to be careful. You can't have lack of discipline in the team if you want to go to the top. And Xhaka, I don't think he's ever going to change, but he needs to get a grip on Gabriel as well. That lost, in my opinion, lost the game for them. But tonight they lost to Xhaka, as we were talking about, Nathan. But they've defended well. Liverpool haven't had many chances, but again they're missing their two main attackers. But that's up to Arsenal now, and it's a two-legged affair, Nathan. So if they get away with a draw and a no score tonight, it'll be a good result for Arsenal. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Those mistakes against Manchester City, like, there were such silly errors and stupid mistakes.
Yes.
How do you fix stupidity? Because they seem to make a lot of them.
Well, it's up to the manager, Nathan. Well, first of all, if I was in the position that the manager's in, I wouldn't have Xhaka at all, because he's never going to change. No matter what you say to him, he's never going to change. I see tonight, that's the fifth time he's been sent off.
Yeah.
For Arsenal. And all the times I've seen him being sent off, he deserves to be sent off, doing stupid things. So you can't have stupidity running through the team. And Gabriel was stupid as well in the match last week. So it's not just Xhaka. So Arteta's got to get a grip on that and stop it, because Gabriel was sent off, they're down to 10 men. They had a couple of things going against them, all right. But actually, when he was walking off the pitch, he was clapping the crowd. And the crowd were clapping him, Gabriel. That's where Arteta has to step in and get a grip of him in the dressing room afterwards and say, I'm not having this. Or any of the players. That's your starting point. I mean, if you look at Liverpool over the years, Nathan, we know Klopp is a great manager. I mean, they've been very, very seldom that you see Liverpool doing stupid things, getting players sent out. In fact, I can't think of any.
And the fact that Jack has been doing this for years, but still gets picked under a lot of managers, and we've seen particularly with Switzerland, what a talent he can be and the impact he can make on a game. Does Arteta need to take a stand with Xhaka for the good of the team, even if he rates him as a player and feels that when he's not doing and having those moments of madness, he can really add to the Arsenal side, that actually for the betterment of the progression, he just needs to get rid of him?
But is he doing that much anyway, Nathan? I never see him. I saw him playing one match for Switzerland. I think it was against France in the Euros, and he was brilliant. I think they came 2 down to go on and win the match, and he was absolutely. But that's the only time I've seen him being brilliant in a match. I've never seen him being brilliant. He's been okay, but not enough to live with. I mean, if it was one of the tops, let's say it was Salah, does what he does, but does do stupid things every so often, you'd live with him, say, because he's scored loads and loads of goals.
Yeah.
But actually, Salah doesn't do anything wrong. I'm just mentioning the point. If he was that good and that valuable to the team, but Xhaka isn't. And I've never seen a player, Nathan, who has a lack of discipline that was worth living with. He let you down all the time.
Right.
Always let you down.
And have you seen...
So if you're going to build a team, like Arteta's built, he's there at a short time, he's building a team, he's building a club, and you have to build it with that foundation that we're not going to have anybody in the club or in the team that's going to do what Xhaka does. You can't live with them.
Granit Xhaka's 29 at this stage, so maybe it's too late, but have you seen players who have that lack of discipline, who actually a good manager is able to turn them around and instill what you want from your central midfielder?
Yeah, well, what the good managers do, they give the lad a chance, Nathan. You know, and if he's got any brains on him, like he'll stop doing stupid things. But if he continues to do it, he'll get rid of him. You know, there's only so many things you can live with when somebody's doing something stupid. And I've seen players being sent off where it was just unlucky and it was very, very unfortunate, and they're never sent off they might be sent off another 3 years' time, but not on a regular basis with Xhaka or anybody else for that matter. That's how you build the club. From Arteta's point of view, he sets the standard of discipline, what you want in the team, and he's got to get a grip of Gabriel as well, because he's inclined to lose the head. Well,
he did something rather stupid just a couple of minutes ago as well, and just got himself a yellow card for obstruction on a Liverpool player, and looked a little bit bemused, but it was just a yellow card this time for Gabriel.
They all looked bemused. You know what I mean? When he was sent off in the match a couple of weeks ago, it's Manchester City. I know I'm going back to it a bit.
Yeah.
He knocked in the centre circle. He knocked Jesus out of it. And this was the same player in the match, Nathan, that trampled when the penalty decision was given to Manchester City. He stampled on the penalty spot.
Yeah.
Gabriel.
Yeah, no, it was madness.
Now he got booked for that, right? Then he did Jesus, which was stupid. It was his second booking and off the pitch. So, you know, Arsenal are down to 10 men for stupidity. It wasn't even a tackle that he did that he could say, well, that was 50-50, he was stopping the goal. So, you know, Arteta's got to get a grip of that. He's got to stop that totally. But Jack is back in the team. He's out of it now again. And Gabriel is still there. Now, whether he, gets a grip of himself, which that's what the manager has to do. If the manager doesn't, Nathan, they'll keep doing it.
Yeah. Burnley aren't a team that we talk about too often on the show. Today it was confirmed, and Chris Wood was unveiled as a Newcastle player today. Chris Wood, who's been such a key figure for Burnley staying in the Premier League over the last few seasons. He's got over 10 goals in each of his 4 seasons with Burnley so far, but Newcastle met his buyout clause, over 25 million. What have you made of this in terms of what it means for Burnley, because they're both in a relegation scrap together?
Well, it's bad. It looked very, very bad for Sean Dyche. There's no doubt about that, Nathan. I mean, I have a great admiration for him for what he's done for Burnley over the years. And you're talking about the big clubs with the big money they spend. He very seldom spends any money. And I know he probably didn't have any say in Chris Wood going because it was in his contract. But I did read recently from the owner's point of view. What they said was, well, we're not going to spend any money, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what we'll do. Now, Dyche has produced wonders nearly every year. So you're selling your top striker to a club who's in the relegation zone with you, and he's no chance now. Absolutely no chance.
You think that's them relegated?
Oh, well, I think he'd give in unless his contract tells him that he'd have to stay on to do. But he knows. I mean, performing miracles every year, and what he's done, I think, in the last maybe 10 years even, has been brilliant. And then you get a new owners coming in, obviously no respect for him, doing what they're doing, and I think the only thing he'll hang on to is to get his contract paid up. But I'd say it must be breaking his heart in football in terms, Nathan, for them to be doing what they're doing. Dreadful. No respect whatsoever.
And in terms of the dressing room, when you're in a relegation scrap and Like last season again, got into double figures. Nobody else for Burnley in the Premier League scored more than 3 goals. Like you're looking at the second half of the season, and Burnley they're in the relegation zone, but they have a lot of games in hand through COVID. Like he's the guy you're thinking will get us 6, 7, 8 important goals, and now he's playing for one of our rivals. It must be incredibly disheartening as a player to see that happen.
It's heartbreaking, I think. If that's not too strong a word, I mean, it's football. But I mean, for them to do what they're doing. I mean, Newcastle, as we know, are down there with Burnley, the relegation rivals, and he sells a striker that scores a few more goals than anybody else for them to Newcastle. I mean, it's okay for Newcastle. I mean, they have the money now to do what they want to do. I mean, they bought Kieran Trippier in. You know, I think they only paid 15 million for him, which is not much today. But they can buy players. Burnley can't buy anybody. I mean, if you go back on it, Nathan, when is the last time, I can't remember, that Sean Dyche actually bought a player?
Yeah, I guess Cornet during the summer was the one, and it felt like a very non-Burnley signing in that he's quite an exciting, tricky player and has scored a few goals. But it's hard to see of the 25 million they got that Burnley are going to go and spend that 25 million, or that a 25 million striker is going to want to sign for Burnley. No, they won't. They won't happen. I mean, Chris Wood is gone, and that's it. You know, he's suddenly gone, so they don't have any time, Nathan, to get anybody in. And if the owners, the new owners, want the money in, they're not going to spend it again. They might get 25 in and say to Dyche, right, we'll give you 5 to replace him. That's what happens with these guys. And then before you know it, you're relegated and you're out of it. It's actually, you're actually losing more money again if they go down. I mean, if like all the clubs, in Dyche's case, you know, he's kept them up there. He's got all the big money every year. He's kept them going. And if they go down, Nathan, Burnley, they'll finish up like a lot of other clubs that have gone, Notts Forest and people like that just won't get back up again. Right. Still Liverpool 0, Arsenal 0, 2.5 minutes left at Anfield. It's all Liverpool at the moment without creating too many clear-cut chances. Stick with us, John. We just need to take a quick break. Come back, it's Thursday's football show. John Giles is on the line. Dan McDonnell's in studio. Dan's watching Liverpool-Arsenal, where they're into 5 minutes of injury time. Big penalty appeal for Liverpool.
Yeah,
and a missed opportunity.
Minamino's just missed an absolute sitter, the proverbial one. They're just pumping crosses into the, like, they're actually, in fairness, Arsenal are defending quite well and compact, and then Liverpool are putting in crosses and they're not getting any answers. But there's still 4 minutes to go and they're going side to side, so it might happen yet.
Good save there from Ramsdale from a shot from Curtis Jones. So Liverpool laying siege on the Arsenal goal, but remain scoreless. Remember, this is the first leg. Winners play Chelsea in the final. John Giles is with us. John, Manchester United got a win, a much needed win in the FA Cup against Aston Villa. Not quite sure how, because performance wise it didn't seem like it was much of a step up from what we've seen over the last little while. A lot of the focus after the game was on Marcus Rashford and his general demeanour, his body language, like his touch seemed miles off. I noticed it early in the first half, and the next 5 or 6 times the ball came to him, he always needed 2 or 3 touches to get the ball fully under control. Can you understand in any way what's going wrong with Rashford? Is it just a little bit of a loss of form and it's been amplified because United are in crisis?
I don't know. It looks a bit more serious than that, Nathan. I've just seen a couple of comments in the paper where he wasn't saying it himself, but that he wasn't sort of mentally okay. You know, he looks a bit depressed, and he's certainly playing that way, Nathan. You know, to be honest, I think he's a very, very gifted lad, as we know. But I think some of the things that he's doing off the field might have got to him. To be honest, you know, he's got
the pressure he's put on himself,
helping with the dinners for the kids, which is brilliant. You know, but. You wouldn't know how much time that's taken up, how it's affected him, because, you know, my experience playing football, you better do nothing else but playing football. You know, get your rest, concentrate on it, and that's what you do. It's a very, very selfish attitude, but that's, in my opinion, how you get ready for matches, keep yourself right, and you know, like he's done a brilliant job off the pitch. There's no way. Now, he might have an agent, I don't know, encouraging him. Maybe he wants to do it himself. And it's very, very good what he's done. But I don't think it's good for his footballing career.
What do you do if you're the manager in that situation? Do you trust them and try and play him back into form? Or are there times where you just need to take the player out of the spotlight, give him 3 or 4 games away and hope that he comes back rejuvenated?
Well, it depends who it is, Nathan. You know, like all players have different temperaments, different mindsets. And there's some lads can go out, and I've played with them, like Alan Clark, for example, was a cocky lad. He could go like 5 or 6 games, or very seldom, and 5 or 6 games without scoring. Never bothered him, you know. Whereas Mick Jones, who played alongside him, was a different type of lad altogether. Now, he didn't have mental problems, but it would get Mick down. You know, like he'd come back again, but it would get him down. So every player is different, and every player doesn't play well all the time, Nathan. You know, I had spells where I wasn't playing very well, but I felt okay. You know, I'll get it right next time. I'll get it right next time. Whereas looking at Rashford, it looks as if he's really, really struggling, Nathan, and it's affecting him very, very badly, I think, on the pitch.
Like everybody at Manchester United, there's a lot of stories about Marcus Rashford. They're in the papers every day around something, and one of them was that he's at the training ground for 12 hours a day. He's doing 3 sessions a day. He's talking to Cristiano Ronaldo about the amount of muscle that Cristiano Ronaldo is able to put on. It does sound as though he's trying to work his way through it, that just by working harder and harder, and as you say, there's no guarantees that that's actually the way, because it doesn't. Does it look to you in any way that he's not fit enough? Is that why his control could be off?
No, I think he is fit enough. I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with his fitness now. I'd say it's a mental problem. You know, I see him on the pitch, and he's like he should be getting in the box. He's not getting in the box. He's losing the ball. He looks as if he's mentally struggling, Nathan, to me. You know, because you see lads and they're having a bad time. We all had bad times where you're dashing around, you miscontrol the ball a little bit, then you do it again, but it's just having a bad game. I don't see that with him. I think he doesn't look right. He doesn't be getting into the box when he should be getting into the box, and he just looks lethargic, as if his mind is not there, Nathan, on the pitch.
It's finished Liverpool 0, Arsenal 0 at Anfield. It was a really entertaining game, even though it was only 1-0, and I don't know how Aston Villa didn't get something from it. They were brilliant to watch at times, Aston Villa, the link-up play with Watkins and Buendia and McGinn, and now they're adding in Philippe Coutinho and Luca Dean. They're backing Steven Gerrard. I know you were impressed with what he'd done over the first few weeks. It does feel as though he might be on the cusp of something at Villa. Yeah,
well, they're backing him, Nathan. You know, we talked about Sean Dyche there a few minutes ago. It's totally different at Villa. They got new owners in the last couple of years, but they're definitely not scared to spend. And what they've done, they were delighted to get Steven Gerrard. He's done a really good job at Rangers, and they're backing him. They're backing him now. There's no doubt. We can see he's only there 3 or 4 weeks, and they're all already prepared, and he's done a good job so far. And they're definitely going to back him. There's no doubt. And they're doing so in the last couple of weeks. I mean, they were very unlucky, Villa, at Old Trafford, I thought, the other day. So he's made a good start. And the fact that they'd obviously said to him, like, what do you need, what do you want? And they're backing him to do that. And that's what managers want. You know, I'm just skipping over a little bit. If you go to Spurs now, Nathan, with Conte there, apparently what he's saying in the paper, he's going to see our pal, the boss at Spurs, Mr. Levy, to say, right, I've had a look at the players. We've played 6, 7, whatever it is, 8 matches. This is what I need. Now, we're going to have to watch that and see, because Mr. Levy hasn't really backed anybody before, Nathan, as we know. Now, is he going to back this guy?
Well, you'd have to assume that Conte wouldn't have gone there if he'd had some sort of assurances. Now, his interviews have been interesting, and last night when he's talking about being bored of asking and answering the same questions about where Tottenham need to improve, like he's been pretty vocal about what they need to do. So the next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting, because Conte doesn't seem like the type of manager who'll go quietly and keep quiet if they don't sign anybody over the next few weeks.
No, I definitely not. I think if there's been promises made, and there's a lot of things happen in football and life generally where promises are made and not kept. So that's what I'm saying now. Is Levi going to step up now and commit to the promises he made when Conte came in? But as you say, I don't think Conte will step. If he doesn't get them what he needs, I think he'll leave. Conte. I don't think he'll mess around. He won't be like other managers where they hung on and hope to get the right responses. He'll go.
What does he need?
Sorry?
What does he need?
Well, he needs a lot. What I saw of them the other night, defenders were poor. You know, I'd say he needs about 4 players, at least.
Yeah.
At least, you know. I mean, I think he's done well with what he has so far, but definitely needs at least 4 players, top players.
Right.
And I'd say he has 4 top players in mind. To be honest, the way he was talking the other day, he's going to see the German, see what he can do, because he'll know. I mean, he's been in football a long time, and I know he was out of a job for a while, but he'd be looking around and looking at players. Who would he get if he gets the next job? I'd say he knows who he wants and what he wants. Now it's a question, Mr. Levy, is he going to back him?
Just on Steven Gerrard, and hypothetical question, considering this could be 2, 3, 5 years down the track, but he is always going to be linked with the Liverpool job and succeeding Jurgen Klopp.
Yes.
What does he have to do at Villa to make sure that when Klopp goes, that he is the man that Liverpool choose?
He just do well, Nathan, as he's doing. You know, like he's made a very, very good start, because he went to Rangers, as we know, when Rangers were playing second fiddle to Celtic, and he turned that around. Now, that's a big job, a really big job. So Villa are obviously looking for a manager, and he's in a position, a very, very strong position, that whatever he wants at Villa, he's going to get. And there's not many managers get into that position, Nathan. Most managers are dying to get a job, and they do anything to take the job. In his case, Villa came after him after doing a good job. So he's in a position where he can demand, like, this is what I need. And it's shown already. So he signed 2 players already, Nathan. Haven't made a really good start. So obviously the Villa owners are happy with what they got. And what he's done in the few matches, they're going to back him. And if they back him, I think he'll do very well.
And do you think he is a step ahead of any of the other contenders because of his status at Liverpool?
Definitely. I think if he does his stuff at Villa, which I think he will do, and Klopp goes, if and when he does go, when he wants to go, I think they'll come chasing after him.
Right.
Definitely. I think he's been very, very clever lad, Gerrard. You know, he took the Rangers job when things weren't good at Rangers, because if he's going to do the job in management, then the Rangers job doesn't look a great job, but if you do it, it looks really, really good. And that's what's happened there. Phil have come into him, a club with promise, big club, Nathan, good support. They got new owners in who are prepared to back him, and they've done that. So I think it's just full steam ahead for him now. And I think if he does what I think he can do at Villa for the next 2, 3, 4 years, he'd be made, and great experience to go back to Liverpool, because the supporters love him there, as we know, and he'd be more than welcomed in that position. That's long term, and football is a funny game, as we know, Nathan. That's if everything goes right, but I think the start he's made looks very, very promising for what I think he would want himself to go back to Liverpool.
All right, John, we'll be back to the regular slot last week. Thanks for your message for JP. Kevin Kilbane also sent him a message. Kevin went a little bit overboard. Have a listen to this, John. I think is it ready? Can we get it again? It's going to be just on permanent readiness, I think, for the next couple of years. This is what Kevin Kilbane had to say in honour of JP.
Okay. Usually on a night out, I would usually sing a song anyway at the end of a night, and I just tried to rejig the words of one of my favourite songs. So here goes. I'll sing this, JP, just for you. Good luck with everything. Here goes. Dear Ger, I write this note to you to tell you of me plight. I am just sick of working with this shower of shite. My body is all black and blue, my face a deathly grey. And I write this note to say why JP's not at work today.
John, there's 4 verses of that.
You're joking. Good old Kevin. I admire his courage. if that's the right word for it. And I could only do what I did, Nathan. I wouldn't. If I was doing it, I would try a Johnny Mathis song. But there again, I wouldn't even think about it. Well done, Kevin.
Yeah.
Good for you.
The few Bacardi and Cokes would be needed. Kevin had Jameson there beside him, so he was grand. John, great stuff as always. We'll be back regular slot 7:30 next Thursday. We'll talk to you then.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Speak to you then. Bye.
John Giles there with us as always. So scoreless Liverpool against Arsenal. Just on the Tottenham thing, Matt Doherty played last night and playing left wing back didn't look comfortable at all. You could see Conte was at him constantly trying to get him to press high, and he does have that sort of lackadaisical manner, Matt Doherty. That
is his manner. Yeah,
it is his manner, and it does. Listen, he played the exact same way when he was at his very best at Wolves as well. It did feel as though that high press, high intensity game that Spurs wanted to play, he didn't quite have it in him. It does seem as though it may work out in his favour if the talk is true that Adama Traore comes to Spurs and he gets to go back to Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like some of the briefing at Wolves that they're maybe cool on that aspect of it. You know, that they seemed more willing to embrace the truth or the reality of it, even the Traore situation, but would they necessarily be taking Doherty back? I mean, it's a strange one because you see him in Spurs struggles, but then we've watched him play for Ireland in the last year, play extremely well, and I appreciate there's a difference between playing for a top 6 team and probably playing for Ireland at the moment, if we're honest, and there's obviously maybe shows the grades of that exist, to be able to operate at that level. But I do feel with Doherty at Spurs, I mean, like, he's been there at a very turbulent time for the club. I mean, the place has been a bit of a mess, and there hasn't been. Yes, of course, the very, very best players will just hit the ground running and make their presence felt straight away. But I have to say I do have a bit of a sympathy for him that he hasn't really had a prolonged chance in, like, he came initially and he was playing on the right of a back four. Like, he didn't get a chance to sort of bring that momentum from Wolves and necessarily play in the same way, but others would say he's had chances too and hasn't taken them.
He has, and I guess he's a victim of the modern football way in terms of agents and having the same agent as Jose Mourinho. And was that a factor in the move to Tottenham? Was he Mourinho's first choice, or was it just part of the deal? And as you say, it never felt like from the outset he was a Mourinho type player, and then it's just been a mess at Spurs and he's been sort of stuck in the middle of it. So from an Irish point of view, we were discussing this on OTB AM yesterday in terms of moves for players, and you can obviously look at the younger players, but in terms of the established, like Doherty and Hendrick are the two.
The Hendrick situation is not good, is it? They're both 30 this month, I think, aren't they? They're all 30.
92 group.
Yeah, they're all 30 in January 92. Brady and Shane Duffy, and they're all in that sort of age bracket.
Hendrick's in a peculiar position because obviously Newcastle could be on the cusp of something quite special, and are also maybe a club who might end up changing their manager every 9 months. So
absolutely,
hang around for long enough, you might find one that likes you,
and could well be in the Championship next season still, and then need a certain type of player that that bridges them to that next level. It's a strange one because you talk to, say, players that played with Hendrick, and they'd always say he's a great training ground player, and that people who work with him, they see his ability, not that he's a training ground player, but that he's sort of one of those you thought under Eddie Howe that at least he'd get a chance, he'd get a couple of chances, and to be fair, that hasn't really happened.
And particularly frustrating when he played so well for Ireland and you thought the club managers must be watching this, and they see him come back, will think there's a bit of confidence there, surely. Give him a chance. It
just seems like his card is marked in a negative sense there, and that seems to have there hasn't been a full staff transition there, and maybe that's just sort of that's carried over in some ways. But even the fact he made a go at the cup game against Cambridge last week, that even in that scenario they didn't see fit to go for 90 minutes for him or a start, be a bit worried, wouldn't you?
We are, well, actually, we're not that far away from the start of the League of Ireland season.
No,
it's
40
been a
days.
Short, close season, but an interesting one, to put it mildly. There's so much going on at different clubs, and Pats and Dundalk and Duffer back at Shelbourne, and the rumours today that Wes Hoolahan might be returning to Shelbourne as well.
Yeah, potentially. If that is going to happen, it will be in the summer. I think there's a bit of work to do if that's going to happen, but I mean, it would be pretty thrilling. There was
Wes against Jack Byrne. Oh, it would be the most cultured midfield clash the League of Ireland has seen since John Giles days.
It'd be the perfect profile, perfect sort of profile match to pitch, given that they grew up in the sort of same neck of the woods. But there has been a lot going on. Owen Doyle coming back this week. There was a bit of talk of Pádraig Hammond as well, but I think he was Sligo Rovers, there was talks there, but that I was writing about this earlier. I think it was actually Sligo was sort of backed out of that deal. So yeah, there is something happening at the moment. There is something like happening in the sense that, I don't know, is it just a confluence of sort of things just coincidentally coming together? Maybe, pandemic, people reflect, whatever it might be. A lot of people are thinking, I want to be at home, I want to be happy at home and give something a chance.
And I know Doyle's not at that level, but I think we're probably going to see more of this, where actually there's a lot of money floating around English football, that players will be able to take those last couple of years and think, do I want to play in League One or do I want to come home?
Yeah, that's true. I think Eoin Doyle was, now not every player will think the same as Eoin Doyle, and obviously players will marry English women, and they'll decide to stay over there, and that's always a big part of the equation for people. But you would like to think that. I don't know, maybe it was a thing growing up. It wasn't a done thing for players to do, to come back. Obviously Damien Duff did it, but you've seen Joey O'Brien do it in recent years, Chris McCann. Some have played at a reasonable level, and you'd like to think that players, of course, like our best 18, 19, 20 year olds will want to go away, maybe to whatever level they can get to that gives them the best shop window. But when you get to 30, 31, 32, you'd like to think there'd be something here, that rather than just going down the leagues, guys think I'll come back and try and give something here. But you need more of an industry here that shows people that there's opportunities beyond your playing days as well.
And in 30 seconds on Eoin Doyle, we had him on the show recently, and he's had this great career out of the limelight and scored goals on those lower levels of English football consistently. He's 33. Is he coming back, and are you looking at Eoin Doyle thinking this is a player who's going to make a huge impact, who we could be looking at as top scorer in the League of Ireland next season? I
think top scorer will, you'll depend obviously on service, and that's, they have good wide players at St Pat's, or sort of some exciting ones, but Eoin Doyle was playing in League One and scoring as recently as 10, 12 days ago. I think he scored at 7-8 goals this season. He's for League of Ireland level, he is an exceptionally good signing. But it's an athletic league in its own way now. It'll have challenges, but he should do well if he stays fit. You've no reason why he wouldn't score quite a few, you would think.
Alright, we'll obviously have lots more talk about the League of Ireland season over the coming weeks. Liverpool 0, Arsenal in the first leg of their Carabao Cup semi-final. We'll take a quick break.